Good evening and welcome to CoreTV News at 7. I am Emmanuel Ezekiel. President Goodluck Jonathan appreciated the prayers of clerics in the nation at a church service in Lagos. The president, while acknowledging that the nation has had its difficulties, lauded church leaders for their fervent prayers. He, however, noted that the unity of the nation has been sustained by their prayers, urging them further to continuously seek the face of God on behalf of the nation.
Part of your ministry of the world, but because of your prayers, this we are still living. The country is still really stable. And of course, with your prayers, and with our own commitment, I assure you this extreme for that our nation will move forward. God is also good because it depends so much on people like the others are coming down. Our prayers and commitment for government for sharing the truth. So let me use this opportunity to thank my brothers and sisters for your prayers for the nation, for your prayers for all of us, and to promise you that we'll do our best to make sure that as a nation, we go from strength.
President Goodluck Jonathan met with youth groups in Lagos ahead of the March 28 presidential elections. While reacting to questions raised by the attendees on the issue of security, the president says the federal government has received 65% of weapons it ordered to execute the fight against Boko Haram.
We thought we were going to crush the Boko Haram with what we had, but it happened about. So we have to recalibrate our security architecture. That was done. Up to this time, we have not received all what we have paid for, but at least we've gotten about 65 to 70%. And of course, that is why the prosecution of the war is getting better every day.
Responding on the issue of epileptic power supply in the country, the president said it will be a thing of the past in the next 18 months. The Bring Back Our Girls group has expressed concern about what it described as the silence of the authorities on efforts to rescue the 219 Chibok girls seized in the last 1 year. The group made this known in a statement in Abuja. It urged the government and the defense authorities to be forthcoming on how the rescue plans would intersect with ongoing operations. It also wants the military to publish a list of towns and communities in northeast Nigeria still occupied by the insurgents. This, according to the protest group, is to clear the air on confusion over the communities that were taken over by Boko Haram before the new operations. And following strong indications alleging that the British government's refusal to divulge intelligence information as regards the whereabouts of the more than 200 Chibok schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram since April 14, 2014, the British government claims that revealing details of what it found about the whereabouts of the abducted girls will clearly damage its relationship with Nigeria and other allies. This revelation comes after UK-based group Security in Africa, through its founder Ben Oguntala, wrote the British Ministry of Defense to request information on Chibok girls. The group had earlier in January this year said it was setting up a task force to Sambisa Forest to secure the release of the abducted schoolgirls, requested from the UK government to know the results and reports of the armed forces, the details of where they searched and the result of their findings. The British Defense Ministry insists that it would not release the details of where the UK soldiers searched and the results of their findings. It, however, shared details of the technology, technique, or methodology used in the search. Not deterred by the response of the British MOD, Oguntala says his group would also approach the British Prime Minister to review what he can about the Chibok girls. And now to politics, the All Progressives Congress APC has raised the alarm over what it described as the relentless scheming by the Jonathan administration and the PDP to push for another postponement of the 2015 general elections unless they can perfect a rigging plan, and called for the imposition of global sanction on whoever scuttles the polls. In a statement issued in Dubai on Sunday by its National Publicity Secretary, Lai Mohammed, the party said the multi-pronged efforts to prevent the elections from holding as rescheduled include the use of some 23 portfolio political parties to seek a further shift in the election dates and the destabilization of INEC's election plan through the orchestrated removal of its chairman, Atahiru Jega. It said the same 23 satellite parties of the PDP that were used to push for the 6-week postponement of the elections have again started testing the waters by pushing for further shift in elections in the 6 states of the Northeast, ostensibly to allow the conclusion of the counter-insurgency battle and also to allow those displaced to return home. The party said while the 23 parties are pushing for the elections to be further postponed, the Jonathan administration and the PDP are simultaneously forging ahead with a plan to remove Jega and replace him with a malleable acting chairman whom they believe will do their bidding. APC warned that the consequences of another postponement of the election would be dire indeed, especially because it will create a constitutional crisis that is capable of endangering the country's democracy and destabilizing the country in its entirety. The party called on Nigerians, especially the civil society, to be very vigilant in the days ahead as the cloud of uncertainty becomes thicker and the vultures begin to settle. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has debunked allegations by the APC that the presidency is scheming to push for further postponement of the 2015 general elections. The 2015 general elections, Oluwaseyi Adegoke met with some PDP chieftains and filed in this report.
The various reactions trailing the alleged plot to remove the INEC chairman, Atahiru Jega, from the seat by the federal government has brought many reactions from the general public and the opposition party. APC has described it as a plot to rig the forthcoming elections.
They've resorted to lobbying some members of the Council of States to support their clamor for election postponement. We hope the Council, which is due to meet later in the week, will put national interests above narrow partisan considerations and reject the poison chalice of election postponement.
Speaking to the Lagos PDP Publicity Secretary, Gani Taufik, he says nothing of such is happening or will happen.
Unfortunately, this is coming up at a time that we are still battling with a sudden postponement of the election. And it is coming from the opposition that is characteristic of it, always interested in overheating the polity. Now, the unfortunate aspect of it is that they have mentioned it, and if it comes to pass, they will tell you that they mentioned it. If indeed it does not come to pass, they will tell you that because they mentioned it.
Also discrediting the allegations is the Lagos PDP Secretary, Wahab Owokonira.
When things are not going the way of APC, they always make all kinds of false allegations. Everybody knows that Jega time will soon be up, and it is customary that when your time is up, either a few months before your terminal date, they always advise, or people naturally go on terminal leave. And I've not seen anything so different from that. Everybody knows that his time is up. So if the APC wants to politicize it, it will be rather unfortunate. The same thing they did during the Salami saga. Everybody knew Salami tenure was about to end. And he went on terminal leave, 3 months terminal leave. What is the big deal? You know, and for them to even be raising alarm is beginning to raise suspicion that do they really have any understanding with Jiga? Why is it that they don't want Jiga to go? You know, these are the questions we're beginning to ask from the APC. And if you look at their background, the antecedent, there's never been any election that they lost, that they agree that they lost fairly. It is only when they won that we say the election was free and fair.
Lagos PDP urged Nigerians to be wise and vote for the party in the forthcoming general elections. Oluwaseyi Adegoke, CoreTV News, Lagos.
You're watching CoreTV News at 7. We'll go for a very quick break. The news returns shortly.
Don't you wish your mommy was fine like mine? Yeah. Don't you wish your mommy was smart like mine? Yeah. Don't you? Don't you wish your mommy could laugh like mine?
And that's why every mom should take 3 Crowns milk with low cholesterol to help stay fit and healthy so she can take extra care of her family.
Don't you wish your wifey was hot like mine?
3 Crowns now comes in powder.
You're welcome back. You can reach us on our various social media platforms. On Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter @CoreTV News NG. As well as YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV_News. The Kwara State Resident Electoral Commissioner Emmanuel Enechayo has charged politicians to spend more time electioneering than investing in violence. He urged all political parties and candidates to use this extension period to educate all their supporters and followers rather than letting them engage in evil acts. He made this call during a lecture forum organized by the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Kwara State branch, where he was a speaker.
Let the political parties, the politicians, go and talk to their strikers who are supposed to score goals. They should go and talk to their defenders. They should go and talk to goalkeepers. Okay? This is the message I want you to convey to them.
The Kwara Rec also gave warnings to all journalists not to misuse their rights and go beyond their boundaries, seeing that they have limited areas to cover. He further explained that journalists are not allowed to interview a voter or any candidate during the voting process.
You are not allowed to interview a voter, an observer, a polling agent, or any special guest inside the polling unit during voting. You are not allowed to do that. You are not allowed to film, photograph, or interview any individual within the polling zone without his or her consent. You are not allowed to film or photograph any voter marking a ballot or acquiring any pictures, film, footage, or audio commentary which records personal details of the voter.
The alleged plot by the federal government to evict the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Atahiru Jega, before the March 28 general election has received more criticisms. Addressing journalists in Osogbo, the Osun state capital, activists under the aegis of Osun Progressive Left says Jega's removal and an attempt at shifting the polls again is an invitation to anarchy and threat to the nation's coexistence. Rashid was there and filed in this report.
As the new date of the general elections draw near, Nigerians are treated to new intrigues of politics. One of such is the alleged plan by the PDP-led federal government to remove Atahiru Jega and even postpone once again the election. The Osun Progressive Left make clear their terms on these issues.
The election of 28th March and 11th of April are sacrosanct, which must not be shifted beyond those 2 dates. We are totally opposed to any inconclusive election processes that may prevent the election result from being announced. We are going to resist any attempt by Jonathan's government to embark on any form of military interim arrangement because the handing over date of May 29 should stand as Democracy Day.
The activists further stressed that Jega's removal will question the integrity of the polls.
Jega is not a civil servant. Jega has never been a civil servant functioning as INEC chairman. It's just very simple. Since the election was still fall within the period Jega was going to oversee the affairs of INEC, they should allow him to conduct the election before it goes to anywhere. They should allow him to conduct the election to give us a credible process.
And if these allegations eventually come true,
it's a repeat of history. People should not just sit down and begin that what happened in 1966 cannot happen. It will even be worse now. Because there are so many organizations, military organizations, that are keeping arms. So it will be different from when you are carrying stones and sticks. Some of these youth people that you see on the street, some of them are keeping arms. Yes. And just a little spark of violence, you see everybody bring out guns.
As the clock ticks, observers are keenly watching how the political game will end as it becomes more interesting day by day. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogbo.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Ogun State says they are still expecting 425,404 PVCs from INEC and 410,264 cards that have not been collected out of the 1,370,340 received from the Commission. The resident electoral commissioner, Timothy Ibitoye, made this known during a press conference at the INEC office, Okemosan, in Abeokuta, the state capital. He also assured the people of Ogun that the PVCs will be distributed immediately they receive them from Abuja.
We are expecting from Abuja the registered voters to be told of 425,454. But the PVC our people have not collected in Ogun State is 510,264. And I assure you that immediately we get the PVC we are expecting from Abuja, we will go back to the PU level to distribute.
The Lagos State Governor, Babatunde Fashola, says Nigeria requires leaders with outstanding qualities to take it out of its current challenges and situations. Fashola emphasized this after administering oath of office to 12 newly appointed permanent secretaries in the state civil service. He advised the newly sworn-in secretaries to shun corruption and discrimination in the course of service delivery to the general public.
Let me also remind you that you also swore before us and before God to eschew corruption. But I think that in dealing with the problems of corruption in our country, we have focused on the monetary side of corruption. If you look at the definition of corruption, it is not just an illegal act for pecuniary purpose. It is also gaining undeserved and undue advantage. And these are things that you must avoid. Partisanship. Because if I did not avoid them, you probably won't become permanent secretaries.
He also inaugurated a three-man governing council for the Lagos State Public Service Staff Development Center. We'll go for another break. When the news returns, we'll bring you other stories. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Now to news outside Nigeria. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Zeid Al-Hussein, said on Monday that more than 6,000 people have been killed since violence erupted in Ukraine last April, decrying a merciless devastation of civilian lives and infrastructure. Launching his office's 9th report on the situation in violence-racked Ukraine, Zeid called on all sides to respect a fragile peace deal and halt the indiscriminate shelling and other hostilities that have created a dreadful situation for civilians. His comments came amid a relative calm along the front line in eastern Ukraine that has raised hopes the sides are moving towards implementing a shaky European brokered deal.
Report, there has been a stark escalation in hostilities, especially in January and the first half of February, leading to increased violations of international human rights law and international humanitarian law, with devastating consequences for the local population. From mid-April 2014 until 15 February 2015, at least 5,665 people were killed. Full reports on casualties, especially near Donetsk airport and in Debaltseve area, are still pending. The OHCHR estimates that the total number of people killed in eastern Ukraine has now passed the 6,000 mark. The deliberate targeting of civilian areas may constitute a war crime, and if widespread and systematic crime against humanity. The human rights situation in Ukraine remains grave. The most recent challenges include a series of terrorist attacks in Kharkiv and Odessa. There are fears of the resumption of hostilities and concerns of a military campaign on Mariupol. The peace talks in Minsk, which resulted in a new ceasefire agreement on 15 February, is certainly a welcome development. I call both sides to respect it because it is the only way out of crisis that is national, but also increasingly regional and global.
Retired Namibian President Hifikepunye Pohamba has been declared the winner of the 2014 Mo Ibrahim Foundation Prize for Achievement in African Leadership. Pohamba pipped two others retired African heads of state, including former President Mwai Kibaki, to the award, which came with a 450 million shillings prize money. The other leader in contention was Mozambique's former President Armando Guebuza, who left office on January 15, 2015. Pohamba is set to receive 450 million shillings per year for 10 years and 18 million shillings annually thereafter for life.
The prize committee has decided to award the 2014 Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership to President Pohamba of Namibia. President Pohamba has ceased to be a president in the sense of the mandate. His mandate was concluded by December. I spoke to him yesterday, and I spoke to his successor yesterday. And he was overwhelmed by the decision. But the fact remains, if for example, we had decided to award somebody who was still in the context of his own mandate, the mandate is going on, it will be different. But he's there simply because the swearing-in ceremony has been made to take place in March.
And that's how we conclude News at 7 here on CoreTV. Thanks for watching. I am Emmanuel Ezekiel.